Plaintiff Melissa Dumais only knew the defendant for 3 months when they decided to rent an apartment together. And after they did, the defendant got arrested for drunk driving. Melissa claims the defendant then violated her probation and went back to jail. And Melissa is suing her today for unpaid rent because the defendant moved out before the lease expired. Defendant Sarah Kirchner admits that she moved out before the lease expired, but says she was having some personal problems and had no choice. Sarah denies owing for the rent because she insists she attempted to find a replacement roommate.
Prove your case.
Sarah and I met about 3 months before we decided to become roommates.
How many months?
About 3 months. We met through mutual friends. I was immediately put off by her personality. It seemed aggressive and arrogant. But my friends told me the more I got to know her, I would change my mind. So we kept having encounters in the next 3 months. And in that time, we realized we both needed an apartment for the coming school year. So we decided to become roommates.
Had her personality changed?
I warmed up to her quite a bit as I got to know her.
Go ahead.
And then things were going okay at first. There were little problems, basic roommate problems, keeping communal areas clean, just typical stuff. And then in October, she decided to go to a party, and I had stayed home that night. And she got a DUI on her way home and called me, and I went and bailed her out. And for the next month, she seemed to be detoxing and getting ready to meet her probation officer and be doing well. And the night before she met her probation officer, for some reason, she decided to go out.
I don't really see how this is actually relevant.
Yeah, how is it relevant unless you're trying to indicate that this somehow affected her responsibility as a tenant or co-tenant or a roommate?
It did.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So she went, and when she met her probation officer, she blew on the breathalyzer and they put her back in jail. And this time I decided not to bail her out because I was starting to realize that she's not learning her lesson. She's not regarding anybody, including herself, in the way she's affecting people.
Now, did she ever return back to the residence?
She did after that.
How long did she stay after that?
Until the school year ended in December.
And did she leave on her own?
Yeah,
or was
she went home.
Evicted?
No, she went home.
Was she drinking while she was still there when she returned?
I don't think so. I don't remember seeing her drink. Well, she dropped out of school after that semester, and I believe her parents made her stay after winter break when she went home. She didn't return.
Gotcha.
And I believe it's because of the trouble she had gotten into.
Good enough. Let me hear from you, ma'am.
So to start off, we did meet towards the end of the school year. We were mutual friends, and we found a good apartment and decided to move in, and then there was just some basic small problems along the way, just roommate situations. There wasn't a chance to bail me out that second time. That was something that I took on as my own responsibility. And when I went home over winter break, there was a couple of different reasons that when I went home, I decided to stay home. First of all, my family was having financial problems, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to afford to go back to school in general. I also realized that I wanted to change what my major was going to be, and for that I was going to have to transfer schools.
Tell me about the rent and security deposit. How does she owe you for that?
In the time that she was gone after winter break, she paid her January rent, and then she did not make another rent payment after that.
When did the lease expire?
August 1st.
All right. Ma'am?
I paid January and February rent. I came back and I moved out at the beginning of February. I then realized when I went back home, I was working a couple of different jobs, but I just wasn't going to be able to make it work to pay rent on a place where I wasn't living. And I had contacted the landlord. This was step one in the process of trying to figure out how to get this room paid for. I contacted the landlord, and we had a verbal agreement that she said, yes, I would be able to sublet the apartment. We even might be able to go.
Had you been on the lease?
Yeah, my name was on the lease.
Do you have any evidence that the landlord told you that?
No, I do not.
Okay, because written agreements on real estate can only be amended in a written agreement.
Of course.
Unless you have something, of course. If you know that, of course, you have to have it in writing from the landlord, then why, of course, don't you have it?
Because verbal, of course, has to come before written.
Oh.
You have to speak before you can actually write something down.
I just told you the exact opposite, and you said, of course, to the opposite.
I'm sorry.
All right, ma'am.
I have a signed statement from the landlord saying she did not have permission to sublet.
What do you say to this?
Of course.
Of course. Judgment for the plaintiff. You abandoned your lease, and the letter from the landlord states that $3,736. Have a good day.